This wasn't eligible for inclusion on the list since it's a re-release of a game that came out in a different year, but it would be mean if I didn't talk about it. Resident Evil HD isn't out in the West yet, but it is available in English to Hong Kong residents, and the limited big box version is really nice. An import version seemed like a no-brainer to me. That's not a zombie pun. I love Resident Evil, and if you're talking about the classic games, in my mind, the GameCube remake of the original always stood head and shoulders above the others in the series. This game plays with the idea of what a remake is, and how much that can offer this kind of scenario. Expectations are set up based on the original and twisted and teased into something bewildering. The sense of comfort that comes with familiarity is gone, and you don't know what you can trust in this place you thought you knew. What makes Resident Evil 1 work so well is it's a game about regret. You make decisions based on what you assume is ahead of you, prepare for them, and have to suffer with the consequences of what you did wrongly. Decisions are very deliberate, considered things, but when the game throws an unpredictable threat at you, that can all go out the window. Taking damage leaves your character visibly wounded and slower for it, making you more vulnerable. The only respawn points in the game are designated save points, and those are further limited by the number of ink ribbons you've got with you. In the remake, bodies have to be disposed of, either by burning them or with a well-prepared headshot. Failing that, they'll come back faster and stronger. Death is always a lingering threat, and there's loads of variables behind each one. Maybe you shouldn't have used that item there. Maybe you shouldn't have used all your ammo on that one enemy. Maybe you should have done that differently. Maybe it's all too late. Regret, regret, regret. It all builds up to a uniquely tense and engaging experience. The remake is one of Capcom's all-time classics, and it deserves this delicately handled HD remaster. The design and techniques used to make Resi 1 such a beautiful GameCube game still shine, but the console's low resolution placed it rigidly in the pre-HD era. Seeing everything so sharply defined and distinct really shows off what a great job both Capcom teams did with the project. HD Revival feels like an apology from Capcom for the directions they pushed the series since Mikami left, filled with extras for those who love to replay the game, and bonuses within the reasonably priced big box version are really nice for big fans. Controversially, Capcom have decided to add optional new controls that radically change the feel of the game. They're fluid and dynamic and feel akin to Devil May Cry. They work well. To me though, that's never what Resident Evil was about. Call me nostalgic, but I don't think that sidestepping a lunging enemy should feel instinctive. I think that the struggle to navigate through these corridors is an essential part of the experience. You're not a superhero, you're a normal person. Making mistakes is all part of that experience. That's all very subjective, and playing the game with old controls looks messy, but that's part of why I like how these games play. It's those ungamey design choices that keep Resident Evil feeling distinctive and impactful. Combat isn't gratifying or exciting, it's tense and clumsy in a way that makes you doubt every opportunity to get rid of the threat. Looking at other shooting games from the mid-90s, it's remarkable how little Resident Evil has in common with them. It's not a game about fun. It's one of the first action games that's more interested in developing a rich experience, and not one about the story, but the emotional reaction of the player to the gameplay and atmosphere. The remake builds on that sense of threat by making the player directly responsible for some of the game's more dangerous monsters. You can never feel too safe in the game, and when that's because of something you overlooked, you learn from that mistake. Thanks to your limited inventory space and initially limited access to areas, you'll often have to revisit places, and knowing what you might have left there builds a sense of dread. It's an intricate design with facets you don't often find in games today. Resident Evil made Mikami a big name in the industry, but mainly for the game's ambition and distinctiveness at the time. Now those things don't mean much. What you're left with is a brilliantly designed game, and one I love to revisit. Don't get worked up about the merits of this as an HD re-release. It's an excuse to replay one of the best games ever made.